Good evening and welcome to the first Beyond the Front Page show for the fall 2020 semester here at KU Community College. This is a show that's broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as WIN 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. Due to the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic, our show format has changed a little bit since we stopped filming back in March due to the outbreak worldwide. And we are back and thrilled to be back from the spring semester to start this fall semester. With the new health protocols, SUNY directives, and other rules, we are doing one show per taping versus doing an Inside Government and then a Beyond the Front Page, 2 at a time. So we're doing shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays of each week. They include only one guest, and that's the key to our discussion today at a time. A reminder that these are shows that are put together and directed and produced and taped by the students of the college. So we're front-loading their schedule. We're starting relatively early in September, which also benefits our guest tonight, versus starting later in September and October. But we'll end not in December with Santa, but much closer to Election Day, right after the November elections. And we'll have more of those updates at the end of the show. With all that in mind, we'd like to welcome our first guest of the season, Diane Kupperman, the Executive Director of the Central New York Make-A-Wish Foundation. Her foundation does great work in Central New York, covers 15 counties, including Cayuga and Onondaga, where this show is broadcast in. This Saturday, September 12th, they will be holding the drive-in on the Wild Side at the Finger Lakes Drive-In. We'll be talking about that and also their good works over the next half hour. As a side note, the last time she was here was in the spring of 2017 with Steve Pisarcik, who's a local attorney with the Sugarman Law Firm, and I think he's still very supportive of your effort. And our goal was to bring a Make-A-Wish recipient into the studio. And when I talked to him back, I think it was in December, he said, we'll make it work. Unfortunately, pandemic got in the way. So my promise is, and it won't be 3 years, when we do get you back in the studio, we would like to get a recipient of this program in there. So welcome.
Thank you, Guy.
And delighted to have you. We'll talk a little bit about the Wild Side in a moment, but for those who may not know, what is Make-A-Wish? I would find you'd have to be under a rock not to know what it is, but what is it?
Well, Make-A-Wish is very simple. We grant wishes to critically ill children in the hope of changing their future. And we bring life-changing wishes to life for these kids and their families, and it's the only thing we do.
So does that mean that when you grant a wish, there is this feeling that, you know, things might just turn around for that, even of a terminally ill child?
Well, I'll tell you, hope is very powerful medicine. And that's exactly what wishes provide. Beyond all the magic and the memories and everything else, wishes are all about hope. And that positive endorphins that you get from hope and from being positive, we've seen what we would like to think is miracles happening with medicine and Make-A-Wish working together. We've seen many, many kids beat their illnesses. And of course, that's our hope. Make-A-Wish really, I think a common misperception is that we're about death and dying, and I think we couldn't be further than that, because life and living. Our kids are very much alive when we're granting their wishes, and it's not.
And we're going to give some great examples.
Last wish, right? It's one wish of many.
Right. So we'll go through some because I think that your staff was nice enough to send a list, and there are some really fun things.
There's some great.
But things have changed because of COVID. So there are chapters all over the country.
There are 60 chapters. But what's unique about Make-A-Wish Foundation is each chapter is an independent 501c3. So we are 100% responsible for everything within the 15 counties that we do, from gaining boards of director members to granting wishes to ensuring that we have enough money to say yes to every eligible child.
So what's your geographic area roughly?
We serve 15 counties from the Canadian border down to the Pennsylvania border, and Cayuga and Herkimer on either side. So we're the middle strip of New York, so truly central New York.
Okay, and you have local connection. We mentioned Steve Pisarcik. You're just joining, having a new board member from
We
Cayuga?
are. We're very excited to welcome Kyle Krikovich to our board this year, which, our fiscal year just started. And our board members and our volunteers and our corporate sponsors like Sugarman Law Firm are so critical to us. We have a very small team. We have a team of 9 full-time people and 1 part-time person to execute everything that we do within the 15 counties. So our volunteers and our board members really play a critical role.
So it's not only just raising the money, but it's making sure that the wish comes off.
Absolutely.
We'll get into specifics of wishes, but give us an idea. What's a wish?
Well, a wish can be anything. Typically, it's one of 4 categories. I wish to go, I wish to have, I wish to be, I wish to meet. And there's a 5th emerging category of kids who wish to give. And they wish to use their wish to make a difference for somebody else.
So I don't want to get too far into this because we have some specific, but you mentioned this new category of giving. And your staff mentioned to me that you had one that, Caden's
wish.
Where's Caden from?
Caden is from Skinny Atlas.
Okay, so
and
right over
he was
in this viewing area.
In this viewing area, he was a senior in high school, and Caden has cystic fibrosis, and he feels very healthy. He feels very lucky. He feels very fortunate in all that life has given him. And at first, he didn't want to wish because he said, "I don't need it. Somebody else needs it." And I think everybody needs to know that just because one kid gets a wish doesn't mean another kid won't get a wish.
Well, okay.
Every eligible
We're going to talk about
child
your
will
numbers,
receive a
because
wish. That's right. It's a big deal.
That's the challenge.
So
too.
Caden wasn't going to use his wish or take a wish or have a wish, and then he was approaching the age of 18 years old. And so he decided that when he heard he could use his wish to help somebody else, that he wanted to do that. And it was really great because we had a Shark Tank type interview set up for him. He had interest in helping school children in the Syracuse City Schools or in the Auburn School District. He had interest in perhaps cystic fibrosis in the hospital, and he had interest in hunger. So those organizations came in and presented to Caden right before COVID, and we told them they had 10 minutes to tell him about the program and how it would benefit the community, and most importantly, how it would be sustainable. And we had such a fun time, and every one of the presentations were extraordinary, and then COVID hit. So everything was on hold, and the item that the food bank of Central New York brought forth was the school break boxes.
Okay.
And those are packaged boxes of food that enhance their meals when they're not in school and having access to the free breakfast and lunch programs. So when COVID hit, it really struck Caden that this isn't just a school break. These kids have been out of school for so long, so how were they getting food, and how food insecure were they? So he really wanted to make a difference with the school break box program and hopefully expand them beyond just the school breaks, because this was such an impactful time for everybody. So that's what Caden chose. And we got to partner with the Food Bank of Central New York, who renamed the school break boxes Caden's Wish Break Box.
Okay.
And he distributed 2,000 wish boxes.
Wow.
1,000 were distributed in July and another 1,000 in August. And right here in Cayuga County, 1,000 of those were distributed.
That's just great. And that's a kid thinking not about himself,
Correct.
but others.
Correct.
So.
And it was an amazing experience for all of us, because at a time when we couldn't be together as a community, we did do a socially distanced food drive, and it brought people together and it brought people out of their homes, and people really always want to make a difference, which is just indicative of the region in which we live. We live in a very, very generous area, and people want to help.
So you want to make a difference. You've done about, how long has the Central New York chapter been around?
We are celebrating 35 years this year since our inception in Central New York, and nearly 2,000 wishes granted.
Yeah, so you do 1,900, so I calculated that out to about roughly 60 a year, which is a lot.
Which is a lot. Some years, many more. In the early years, not quite that many. From 7 to 20 to 30 to 70.
So your goal this year was 60 plus.
Our goal this year was 60 plus, and halfway through the fiscal year, which was February, we were on track financially and on track to grant wishes, and then COVID hit, and everything stopped.
So while everything stopped, wishes do not stop.
Wishes do not stop, although in the first months of the pandemic,
requests.
Oh, requests, no. As a matter of fact,
so you have 190 in the pipeline.
Right. COVID stopped the world, but unfortunately it did not stop kids from being diagnosed with critical illnesses. So the fact that we have so many wishes in our pipeline, and every month new kids are being referred, and you said it, Guy, we have over 190 medically eligible kids in our pipeline.
So how much does it cost you on average? Do you have that?
We do. The average cost of a wish is right around $12,000. Of course, some wishes are a little bit more and some are a little bit less, but a rolling 3-year average is $12,000. And we budget for those wishes to be 70% cash and 30% in kind. We move mountains to try not to spend our money certainly we would never compromise a wish, but again, in-kind gifts and services are significant to our
Air
ability
travel,
to even air
hotel.
travel, Disney World when they were there, lumber for play sets or labor for sports complexes.
Which there is one
there
of those.
is one of those.
So you we will get to the walk on the
Yes.
wild side or drive in at the wild side. So you do have one. This is a pole barn. This is Derek.
Derek.
Where's Derek from?
Derek lives in the Mohawk Valley,
Okay.
and
He wants a pole barn.
Well, he has a pole barn,
Oh,
but
okay.
he is a baseball player and an athlete, and cancer sidelined him from his sports, and he wants to catch up, and he wanted an indoor sports complex so that he could train for baseball year-round. And now more than ever, this
Right.
year, to keep him in shape and to keep his travel team in shape, that was Derek's wish. So fortunately, the pole barn was there, and our job was to transform the inside of the pole barn to an indoor sports complex.
And have you been able to accomplish it?
We were so close to doing that before COVID, but I am super psyched to say that Monday, September 14th, Derek's indoor sports complex will be revealed.
Okay. Well, and we look forward
And
to
he's promised not to peak. They're
Okay.
working on it right
And if you
now,
wanna
and his
send us
parents
photos,
are
we'll get
keeping
them up
them.
on screen.
We definitely will send you photos.
So one of the reasons you're here is this is the first week of shows. You have a fundraiser
We do.
this week in Cuyahoga County.
We do.
It's a drive-in on the wild side at the Finger Lakes drive-through. Starting at 5 p.m.
Starting at 5 p.m.
So what is drive-in on the wild side?
Well, we're super psyched that we're able to even hold this event. It used to be held at the Wild Animal Park in Madison County, and now we can't do that with COVID. And I got to tell you, my team of amazing, incredible women in the office and the volunteers that support us have been able to be creative and pivot our events, and they have moved mountains to ensure that we are holding events and raising money so that we can continue granting wishes.
So when was your last event?
Well, the golf tournament from Binghamton was rescheduled to the end of July, and that was the first event that we were able to reschedule and hold. And to our wonderful surprise, it was sold out, and it reached just about pre-COVID budget expectations. So we're encouraged that people are still giving in ways that they can, and they're eager to support. But drive-in on the wild side, how could we do an event socially distanced? And we were so excited because it's really the first big event that we've done in Cuyahoga County, and the Finger Lakes Drive-In is the perfect place to hold an
It's
event.
a very kid-friendly event.
Very kid-friendly event. We will have bingo, we have raffles, we have 50-50 raffles, and we'll be showing a double feature that night of Walk on the Wild Side of Lion King and Cars.
So I was going to ask that the double feature, is it the Lion King with the actors or the animated?
I believe it's the animated Lion
Animated
King
and Cars.
Yes.
And so I think it costs, and we are having them pop up from time to time. You're encouraging people to make reservations.
Absolutely. They can
That would
simply
be
go
helpful.
online and
it's
buy
supposed
the
to be
tickets.
very nice this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's
So-
perfect. And you can buy the tickets for your bingo cards, for your raffles, and for your admission.
So you get a 50-50 in on there, and you can do it by car or by individual.
Correct.
And it's relatively inexpensive. I think
yeah.
the individual tickets, I don't want to misstate it, but $5 or something like that. So how many people?
Carload's the best deal.
Carload is always the best deal.
And, hamburgers and hot dogs, there's, going to be food and fun. And
So on something like that, how much do you hope to raise
this was originally budgeted for $50,000.
when you were in Madison
Pre-COVID.
County?
Pre-COVID,
So-
yes.
Because
So-
that petting zoo, as we know from the news, isn't allowed to operate under the
Correct.
strictures of
Correct.
the state.
Correct.
Or at least the way it
Well,
would
not
help
the
for
way,
you.
and we couldn't have 400
Not the way you
people.
want to have
Correct.
it. So if somebody goes to Drive-In Wildside to the GiveSmart.com site, they can sign up for that
They
and
can sign
buy
up for
tickets.
it. They can
and-
buy tickets. They can make a donation. If they're not able to come, they can make a donation to support the event. And they're also having a can and bottle drive. So if you have cans and bottles you haven't returned, you can bring those with you. And all that money will help benefit Walk on the Wild Side.
And how did you come up with this event? It just seems interesting from a drive-through perspective.
Well, again, we started back with a walk. So many organizations do walks. And we wanted to have a little twist on a walk. And so we first held it at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo. And that was a complex event for them to run. Because
It's also hilly.
it's hilly, and they have multiple staff that had to be on site, which was an extra day for them. So we were so excited to partner with
And
them.
Chittenango's fairly,
And
not
Chittenango,
Chittenango.
Chittenango, the Wild Animal Park is fairly flat. And it was an opportunity to work with another local person, and it was just really great. So people were taking a walk. It wasn't a 5K and it wasn't a run, but come and go for a walk on the wild side. And again, we couldn't do it. So they shifted, and we are now drive-in on the wild side.
Okay. So how do you hear about children who wanted to make a wish?
You know, we're fortunate in our community to have the Golisano Children's Hospital, and the majority of our kids are referred right out of Golisano.
So nurses and doctors and staff
doctors,
there.
child life specialists. We love it when the referrals come from the parents, because then we know we're being openly invited into their lives at a time when they want us there. Sometimes we would never call, and we know of kids
You're
right
not going
now.
to cold call a parent.
Right, because if they have a different perception of who we are and what we do, it might not be a welcome, joyful phone call. So we wait for the call for the parents to refer. We've had kids refer themselves to Make-A-Wish. And right now,
Do you ever have
it's
a kid,
easy
a
to
child
do.
who refers themselves and their parents are like, this isn't the right time?
You know, no, not necessarily. Mostly the kids have done it without their parents' knowledge, so that's usually the
But I have
surprises
to
that
say-
they've called. We have had people, though, Guy, I will tell you, who feel that they are fortunate, that they have the means to do whatever they want for their child, and so they're the people that feel they give to charity, not from take from charity, and that's a population that we really want to hit, because I will tell you, wishes are not about the money. They're about giving an opportunity to a child to forget about being sick, to dream and to think about their future, and let Make-A-Wish take care of all the expenses. And if you want to contribute to us later or another organization that benefits your child, that's great. But also, access. Make-A-Wish has access that parents don't have. And so
Especially
it's
if
really
you're doing a trip.
a trip, meeting a celebrity, getting into the Masters golf tournament, going to the Olympics. There are things that families might not have access to, but we are fortunate with the support that we have from all sorts of industries that we have access that most people don't get.
There's a great story during COVID. I think it's John Mulvaney. Did you hear that story?
I did hear that story.
So John Mulvaney is a comedian.
Yeah.
And he's very droll, and he does this great story. And this girl wanted to meet him, and he was stunned. And making a long story short, he walks into Saturday Night Live, where he was a writer,
Right.
And who happens to be on stage but
Lin-Manuel
Miranda, and that's who she really wanted. So he was a double. He
right.
did it. He did it for her.
He did it.
But that's the type of thing.
Well, and that's really interesting, because celebrity wishes have taken a turn. Normally kids might go to a concert or go to an athletic event to meet their person, and they might get 3 or 4 minutes with that person, and they may get the experience of being in a stadium or being at a concert, but they don't have the one-on-one access. And it was very interesting during COVID, because everybody was home.
Right.
And some of these kids pivoted and allowed us to do virtual wishes for them, and they had total access, one-on-one.
Right.
It was set up to be about 20 minutes, and on some of them they were with 2
nice
hours.
People will
Genuinely
do,
nice people.
will do
Absolutely.
genuinely nice things.
And so it was a completely different experience for the kids, but one that I'm sure is very memorable.
I
they
heard
were
that
all
story.
recorded.
I don't know where I heard it, but I thought that says it all right there.
Says it all.
So is there an application they fill out?
So there is, and now it's pretty much all electronic, and they can
Okay.
go right online to our website, and they have to fill out a series of questions. The wishes that we grant, the kids are critically ill.
Right.
They have illnesses, cancer, transplants,
So it's
neurological.
critical, not necessarily terminal.
Absolutely. It's critical illnesses, and the terminal is a word for the medical field, and it's
Right.
one that we don't use in our vernacular, because again, it's not a very hopeful word.
Right, okay.
And we've again seen kids who have given prognoses who have not been great, and who have either lived much longer than they had expected or have beat their illnesses.
And do you review the applications? Do you have a board? Do you
No,
have a staff to do that?
So the applications really, the child's physician, in cooperation with Make-A-Wish, who has we have a set of standards for
Criteria.
kids to be eligible for our services, and through the medical professionals, they tell us whether a child meets our criteria or not.
And when you do this, do you cover just the child, or can you cover a parent? I look at a trip.
The entire immediate family
Okay.
is included in the WISH experience. When a child gets sick, it affects the whole family. And our goal is to create an opportunity for the whole family to be together.
Well, and I know
just to
here
forget about being sick.
I don't know what their setup now is because there's been some changes, but hospice was very big in Freedom Recreation into siblings.
Yes.
Because it does affect everybody
Sure,
in the house.
everybody in the house. And when our volunteers go out to meet the child for the first time now, it's being done virtually, and we take an icebreaker gift, but it's not just for the Wish kid, it's for their siblings. And we find ways to include the siblings when it's not a trip wish, but when it's a trip wish, then the child's immediate family is always included in the wish.
And I don't want to concentrate on COVID, but it has changed
It has
the way
changed
we do a lot of things.
a lot of things.
The studio, there would usually
Right.
be 5 people in the
Right.
studio right now, and 3 guests, and we're not. So with that, how has it changed fundraising for you?
Well, several things have happened. Let me start with the wishes. You mentioned the wishes. 80% of our wishes involve travel, whether it's a trip to go somewhere or whether we have to get a kid someplace to meet somebody or to have an experience. So we rely heavily on air travel. So 80% of our wishes came to a screeching halt. We had 28 kids waiting to go to Disney World. We had 12 international wishes, 5 cruise wishes, and a whole host of celebrity wishes or wishes where kids had to get
Give us
somebody.
an example of a celebrity, so just so people know. What's a celebrity wish and what everybody can understand Disney?
Sure.
So what's a celebrity wish and what's international travel?
So international travel is just that. They want to go to Paris, they want to go to Germany to see castles, they want to go anywhere you need a passport.
So they're not going to Wakanda and they're not going to Frozen.
There was a young man right here from Cayuga County who we did send to South Africa because he wanted to see cheetahs. And this kid knew every detail about cheetahs you could have ever imagined. I'm not sure his parents were real thrilled about that wish. The length of time it took together, this was several years ago.
And it came off?
It absolutely came off. So again,
and I'm not going to have them film your shoes, but we're doing the wild side. But between you and our director, Mike Morano, he's got tiger shoes. You have leopard shoes. I feel underdressed here.
You didn't get the memo.
I didn't get the memo.
I tell you? I'm so sorry.
The mayor and I were here the other day, and we looked at each other's ties and said, apparently our wives did not call each other.
Right.
But so that's that type of event. So can someone just donate? I mean, you're doing this event.
Sure.
Wild Side is to do this.
Sure.
But somebody can make a tax-deductible donation to you.
Absolutely. Year-round, on our website, by mail,
I know they're
by
popping
calling
that up
us.
there.
We do rely on donations year-round, not just events. In fact, we would rather rely more heavily on individuals than we do on events. But right now, events are the largest portion of our revenue pie.
And again, I skipped over. What's a celebrity? Give me an example of a celebrity.
So a child wants to meet the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh.
They got to fly to get there. Or they want to swim with the sharks. And we don't have too many of those around here. But although it seems like we could just send them to Massachusetts lately,
exactly.
and it wouldn't have to do that. But so it's any wish that would involve a celebrity meeting. Oftentimes it's in LA. Sometimes it's in New York.
So
airline travel.
So trips have been, for the most part, stopped. So let's talk about some that you're still doing, or you've done, or you're going to do.
Can I say something
Sure,
about travel
absolutely.
wishes? People may also donate their frequent flyer miles to Make-A-Wish Foundation. When you do that, they never expire, and they're the same as cash to us. We use a lot of frequent flyer miles to get kids to Hawaii, and that's cash out of pocket that we don't have to spend when people donate their frequent flyer miles. And there's information on how to do that right on our website too. So that's another way that people can help.
So it's so hard for somebody who, I'm one of those who can't ever
use
figure
them.
out how to access them.
Oh.
It might be easier to just
We'll
give
help
it-
you figure out how to access
we'll
them
give
if
them
you'd
to
like.
you.
That's right.
So tell me about Evan.
Evan was one of the wishes. So while we couldn't do travel wishes, and for the first few months of COVID, nobody was out of their house, and nothing's more important to us than the health and safety of our kids and families, and certainly our volunteers who are involved. So once we were able to emerge and we figured out we can do socially distanced, local gift-type wishes, and Evan had been waiting a long time for his jet ski. Okay. And we were able to, the Thursday of 4th of July weekend, he had just been at the hospital, and he said to his doctor, boy, Make-A-Wish, I haven't heard from them in a long time, and his parents were doing all they could do not to let him know what was going to happen. And so his family camps on Cayuga Lake, and we surprised Evan on that Thursday night with his jet ski. So
Oh,
that was a really wonderful experience that we could do. Do we have time?
Oh, we have a couple of no,
okay.
because I want to tell you, I went through my favorites, so I'm going to go through my favorites.
Okay, you go through your favorites.
So these are my favorites because they're different.
They're different. Caden's was different.
Yes.
We were able to do that.
Athena's is different.
Athena wanted to pursue her education, and
Which is great.
It is wonderful, and she was very focused on that. She's been transplanted into several different states, so her education's been interrupted. And she originally wanted to attend OCC and get a finance degree, a bookkeeping degree, and then she had to move again, so she decided online. And we were able to do all sorts of things for Athena, both while she was here and there. So her courses are paid for, she has a desk set up, she has gift cards to buy, clothes for interviewing, and it was really, she's a very special young lady.
And really quickly on the last two, Katerina wants a Paris-themed bedroom.
That was one of the wishes that pivoted. So with all of we have 72 wishes in process.
So they've had to shift from travel to...
They don't have to,
but
they may.
some of them
That's right,
have.
Right. So some kids have opted to hold out hope for their travel wishes, and we're going to wait a year and reevaluate. No matter COVID or not, kids can always change their wishes. Hopefully they don't do it at the last minute.
But you also have a group right now that's undecided.
We do have a group that's undecided. It's a big ask when you say to a kid, if you could wish for anything, what could it be? So Katerina had wished to go to Paris, and who knows when international travel will open up again. So she has said, I spend a lot of time in my bedroom. I want a Paris-themed bedroom makeover. So we are in the process of working on her Paris-themed bedroom makeover.
A phrase that we most likely never heard of before the last year, most of us in mainstream, she shed.
She shed.
Because all I think is that one poor woman with the fire.
That's right, on the commercial first. That's right.
So Hannah, where's Hannah live?
Hannah lives in the northern part of our region, and Hannah Hannah's not able to go outside a lot because of her conditions, and she likes to spend time outside and watch her brothers and sisters outside. So the way for her to go outside is to have a she shed. So we're working on her she shed right now.
Okay. Get it fully insured.
Get it fully insured. Thank you. That's good advice.
I want to finish off because we're running out of time. But we have the drive-in on the Wild Side, which is
this Saturday, day after tomorrow, September 12th, 5 o'clock at the Finger Lakes.
And so if you're listening to this on the radio station here at the college on Saturday morning, you can still go that night. But you are urging people to register.
We're urging people to register in advance, but you certainly can buy tickets that night right at the door. At the door?
And
at the window.
So pre-registering is helpful there.
It is helpful.
And it's a double feature. It's Cars and The Lion King.
Yes, it is.
Not in that order. Thank you for being here. I should have said, so the Blue Star, for those who don't.
The Blue Star. Let's capitalize on the star in our logo, because everyone with whom we come in contact are stars to Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they're stars to our kids for sure, because they help us grant their wishes, and they even glow in the dark. So thank you for being a star, and thank you to everybody who's watching.
The college is here for this purpose. So Diane Kupperman has been our guest over the last half hour to talk about the September 12th event. Please go. You can also look at their website if you want to donate, including airline miles, something I'd never heard of before. But we also want to hope that next time you're in, we can bring one of your recipients, and that would be great. We will be back, just as some bookkeeping and programming notes, we'll be back on Tuesday with Kathleen Cuddy, the Public Health Director of Cuyahoga County. She'll be giving us a COVID-19 update, and we'll be talking about the flu as well as vaccines. Next Tuesday, we'll have Auburn Superintendent of Schools Jeff Perizzola talking about what is going on with the Auburn School District, specifically their hybrid system of learning options. And future guests will include, hopefully in 2 weeks, New York State Senator James Seward, who is not running for re-election. Cuyahoga County Legislator Trish Kerr will be on to talk about our local census efforts. You have about 3 weeks to go to fill out the census, and it's vital to Cuyahoga County. City Manager Jeff Dygert will be here for a city update, and we'll also have the Cuyahoga County United Way talk about their 2020 campaign beginning in October. Also in October, we'll start our forums. We'll hopefully have a rematch here in the studio with congressional candidates John Katko, who's the incumbent, and Dana Balter. We'll have open Senate seats that we've talked about, 51st being vacated by Senator Seward. The 50th is now open because Bob Antonacci resigned to take a seat on the court. We do have an incumbent, Pamela Helming, who is with the 54th Senate District. We hope to have her and her opponent here. There's an open seat with the retirement Assemblyman Gary D. Finch, who that seat is open for the first time in 20 years. We'll have both candidates there, and then we'll have Assemblyman Brian Macklow, who is the incumbent in his his Assembly seat, and we'll have him here as well with his opponent. I'll moderate. Jeremy Boyer, the citizen, will ask the questions as usual. But before we go, please let us know if you have any questions or thoughts for guests. You can send them to cozguytho@aol.com or 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York 13021. I'm Guy Cosentino for CU Community College. I want to thank you for watching and be safe. Have a good night, and we will see you on Tuesday.